Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today we're going to talk about battery corrosion. We're going to talk about what causes it, the effects that it can have on your vehicle, and also how to prevent it. Let's go ahead and get started. Now we have a vehicle that has it. We're going to go over there in a minute. We're going to take a look at it, but there's a lot of things that can cause it, and it's important to know what's causing it because you want to stop it, because in the event that you have that coming up on your terminals, you can run into some issues to the point that your car can also stall out if it's really bad kicked up on the positive, because the alternator cannot recharge the battery, which then causes your battery to pretty much run on its own and then fail, leaving you stranded. So it's important to check those cables. It's important to clean them properly and to prevent it from happening. That way it doesn't leave you in a bad position. You can also have it with your negative battery cables where you go out in the morning, the car won't start. You'll think that your battery's dead when really it's just the cables that are bad. Let's head over here to this vehicle. We'll take a look at the battery cables and we'll talk a little bit more about it and explain what needs to be done to prevent it.
Here are some of the items I'm going to be using in this video. We have some battery acid detector and cleaner. That's some good stuff for cleaning off the corrosion. A wire bristle brush is good for cleaning off the battery posts. Some dielectric grease. You could also use Vaseline. And then most importantly, you want safety glasses. Anytime you're cleaning battery corrosion, you want to protect your eyes.
Let's bring the camera in here up close so you can see what we're dealing with here, because this particular vehicle here, as we're going to see, it has a lot of corrosion around the terminals where they connect to the posts on the battery, but not as bad as in some cases. In some cases it's very visible, but in this one here it's concealed more on the inside, which can be a little more misleading, because if you look at it, it doesn't look as bad, but once you remove the cables, as we're going to do in a second, then you're going to see how bad it is. That's definitely hindering the connection to the battery and causing problems.
Corrosion is caused by hydrogen gas being released by the battery acid and mixing with things in the atmosphere. It's important to know where the corrosion is manifesting itself. If the corrosion is on the positive terminal, you can see here, if we take a look at that all caking up, then the battery might be getting overcharged due to a bad voltage regulator. You can check out my video on how to test your alternator and voltage drop via the links across the top, also down in the description. Now, if we come over here, if the corrosion is on the negative terminal, as seen here, then it might mean that the battery is undercharging due to high resistance from a faulty alternator or loose or bad battery cables. It could also be due to a bad battery.
Now, if both of your posts have corrosion on them, then it may just mean that your battery might just be old and starting to fail, needing to be replaced, or it could mean that your posts and terminal connections are exposed to excess moisture. Either way, you need to get that fixed. If the battery needs replaced, get that replaced, or you're going to wind up being left stranded. Now, it's important to keep those terminals clean, because if not, you could be hindering the alternator from being able to recharge the battery, especially if it's on the positive cable. And in those cases there, you'll wind up just draining your battery, and it could leave you in a situation where your car stalls out. It could also generate the engine code P0562. And what that code is that's usually generated if your vehicle drops below 10 volts or less for more than about a minute's worth of time. It'll issue that code. Other codes that you may see is the P2502 and P2503. These pertain also to your charging system, usually indicating an issue with the alternator or the battery, as shown here. And either way, when you get to that point, your voltage is dropping, you want to pull over to a safe spot if you are able to. You'll notice maybe your gauge is quirking out. If you just have dummy lights, as with the car here, they'll come flashing on your ABS light and things like that. But it's important when you see that, you want to pull over immediately, because you're already dropping to that point. You don't want to be stalled out. Now, you want to be careful not to apply your brake if you're going fast, because when your ABS light quirks out because of the low voltage, you can have these erratic stops and the car will jolt and jerk. It can be kind of freaky. So you want to try to, if you're able to, kind of reduce your speed by drifting before you do that, and then pull over to a safe spot. If you're able to shut the car off as soon as you see these indications, you can salvage your battery, but in some cases you're just going to have to drain it to get to that safe spot, and then pull over, shut everything off. Now, once you pull over, if you were able to salvage some of the charge on your battery still, and the voltage isn't all the way down where it's completely drained out, and I've had this happen before, pop the hood, check your cables. I've had it where the corrosion on the positive was just caked up, was able to scrape it right off on the spot, let the car sit for a few minutes to kind of get the voltage back, and I was able to restart it and continue driving. So that's sometimes a quick fix if the battery hasn't been completely drained down. Now, it's important to keep these clean. And if you realize that the issue is with the corrosion, as we've been talking about in this video, first thing you want to do is you want to clean it really well. You want to clean any corrosion off the posts once you've determined that your battery is good. If the battery has been drained all the way down, you may be able to charge it. If you want to check out my video on how to recharge a battery, there's also a charger that you can pick up fairly inexpensive that I did a product review. I'll have those links across the top. Also, if you go down in the description, you'll find those along with other videos pertaining to this video down there. But you want to clean the post very well, get any corrosion off of there. You want to clean the terminals, the inside and the outside of where it connects. You want a nice, dry, clean connection.
You can see all the corrosion here on the battery post, but not only that, if we look on the inside of the terminal, you can see it's all caked up and corroded. Definitely an issue for the voltage.
Once you get all that cleaned up and everything is good, you've determined that your battery is not gone and needs to be replaced, then what you want to do, and you can clean it off with, they have battery acid cleaners like this one here.
I like using this Remove battery acid cleaner. This is by NOCO. This is some good stuff. It's easy to use, shake it up real good. We'll just spray it right onto the posts as well as on the inside of the terminals, anywhere where there's acid. And we'll spray that on. It'll go on yellow, but you'll notice how it's turning red in some of those spots. Wherever it sees the acid, it'll turn red, and it will start dissolving that. We'll spray it down real good. Make sure we get it on the inside here where we saw all of that corrosion. Soak it real good in here. Spray it all around. You can see it doing its job. We'll let it penetrate real good, and then we'll rinse it off.
Once I do that, I also take just a wire brush, scrape it really good. You can go on the inside using just a battery terminal cleaner. They make those. You can pick those up as shown here as well.
With a wire brush, scrape the post real good. Or this is what I'm talking about here. You can get one of these cleaners where you can either do the post or the inside. And here we are now completely done. Everything's been dried out. Look at that. Nice and clean. You can see no more corrosion inside the terminals. The posts are nice and clear. On this one as well, everything is cleared off.
And another thing you can do is also baking soda with water works well to clean that off. But once you have it very clean, you want to make sure it's a clean, dry connection. Once you've got it cleaned off and dried off, get everything secured, then you can seal it to prevent any moisture from causing those issues again. And to do that, you can just use either some dielectric grease, you can use wheel bearing grease, you can even use Vaseline, just some kind of a inhibitor against the moisture, and that's only on the outside of the terminals. You don't want to be putting it on the inside. That has to be a dry connection. But here's a shot of that.
I'll apply the dielectric grease onto a Q-tip, and we'll put it on the outside right there where the terminal and the post come together. We just finished the positive. We'll do the same on the negative, and we're going to also put it along the top as well. So all the areas exposed, you can see how it's all sealed, not gunked up, but just a nice seal around it to protect against moisture.
So everything has been properly cleaned. All the connections are nice and clear of all the corrosion. We've applied the dielectric grease. Everything is now sealed, so we're good to go. That wraps up this video on just talking a little bit about battery corrosion as far as what causes it, what it can cause to your vehicle as far as the effects of it, and how to prevent against it. So I hope that this video was informative for you. I hope it helps you out with maybe if you're having any issues with your battery, with corrosion, things like that, to help understand it better. Please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.